feels quieter after us, not happier yet. But my heart finally rests sometimes without emotional chaos in my chest. It feels quieter after us, and maybe that's healing too. Not emotionally loving you less, just emotionally surviving better without you. I used to fear silence deeply, because silence reminded me of pain. But now these quiet midnight moments feel emotionally softer in my brain. I still think about certain memories, still revisit old nights sometimes, but they no longer emotionally destroy me the way they used to inside my mind. And honestly, that feels like progress slowly. It feels quieter after us, that's the change I notice most. The emotional storms finally faded after emotionally losing what I held close. It feels quieter after us, and now I know some healing begins emotionally when emotional chaos finally goes. Mine finally started leaving slowly. I stopped checking my phone constantly, stopped emotionally waiting all night, because emotional attachment weakens slowly when you stop emotionally fighting reality inside. Now I sit beside rainy windows, feeling emotionally calm enough to breathe. And honestly, peace feels unfamiliar after emotionally surviving heartbreak this deep. But I'm learning how to trust peace again. It feels quieter after us, but maybe that's what I needed most. Not emotional excitement anymore, just emotional calm I can't hold close. It feels quieter after us, and maybe I survived enough pain to finally understand emotionally. Peace can feel beautiful again, and I think I'm finally understanding that tonight. If this feels familiar, please be patient with your healing. Not every recovery feels exciting. Sometimes healing feels emotionally quiet. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter tonight somehow. It feels quieter after us, and I finally stopped being afraid of that silence. I sleep better now, and honestly I never expected that. There was a time I thought heartbreak would emotionally follow me forever like that. I sleep better now, without replaying every conversation that night, without emotionally checking my phone, hoping somehow things would suddenly feel right. The nights used to feel endless, my thoughts emotionally too loud. I carried emotional exhaustion quietly, even inside emotionally crowded rooms somehow. But slowly something changed inside me, the emotional pressure faded away, and I finally realized healing doesn't always arrive dramatically someday. Sometimes it arrives quietly instead. I sleep better now, that's how I know I'm healing slowly. Not because I stopped caring completely, but because emotional pain stopped controlling me. I sleep better now, and now I know peace sometimes returns emotionally after emotional chaos goes, and mine finally started returning softly. quietly. I still remember difficult nights when silence emotionally hurt my chest. But now rainy midnight moments feel emotionally calmer instead. I started enjoying small peaceful things like breathing without emotional fear. And honestly, emotional stability feels beautiful after surviving painful years. And I think I finally appreciate peace deeply. I sleep better now, but healing still happens gradually. Some nights still emotionally ache, just not as intensely. I sleep better now, and maybe recovery looks like this: emotionally surviving heartbreak until emotional calm emotional calm finally exists inside me tonight. If this feels familiar, please trust you're healing slowly. Your heart does not need to rush to emotionally recover completely. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally safer tonight somehow. I sleep better now, and honestly, that means more than people realize. Healing happened in small ways. That's what surprised me most. Not through one emotional breakthrough, but through quiet moments I almost overlooked. Healing happened in small ways, like laughing without forcing it, like hearing your name one night and emotionally surviving it. I used to think recovery would feel dramatic somehow, like suddenly waking up one morning without emotional weight inside me now. But honestly, healing felt softer, almost emotionally invisible at first. Tiny peaceful moments appearing slowly inside days that used to emotionally hurt. And those moments slowly became larger. Healing happened in small ways, that's how I started changing again. Not emotionally perfect overnight, just emotionally lighter than I had been. Healing happened in small ways, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly, long before you fully notice though. And mine quietly started recovering too. I started enjoying lonely evenings instead of emotionally fearing them. The silence stopped feeling empty and started emotionally feeling calm again. I stopped replaying old conversations, stopped emotionally chasing closure every night, because some answers finally arrive when your heart emotionally becomes tired of fighting. And mine finally became tired enough to rest. Healing happened in small ways, like breathing easier at night, like emotionally accepting memories without emotionally breaking inside. Healing happened emotionally softer tonight somehow. Healing happened in small ways, and honestly those small ways changed everything. Nothing feels heavy lately, and honestly I noticed that now. The sadness still exists sometimes, just not emotionally crushing somehow. Nothing feels heavy lately, not the memories, not the rain, not the quiet midnight thoughts that used to emotionally overwhelm my brain. I used to carry emotional exhaustion into every ordinary day. Even simple moments felt difficult because heartbreak emotionally weighed everything. But slowly my chest feels lighter, like emotional pressure finally disappeared. And honestly, peace feels strange after emotionally surviving difficult years. But I think I'm learning how to trust it now. Nothing feels heavy lately, that's how I know I changed. Not because life became perfect, but because emotional pain stopped feeling endless every day. Nothing feels heavy lately, and now I know healing sometimes arrives emotionally, when emotional survival slows and mine finally started slowing softly. I still remember nights when breathing emotionally felt hard, when loneliness emotionally followed me into every silent dark. But now I walk through rainy evenings, feeling emotionally calm enough to smile. And honestly, emotional freedom feels unfamiliar after heartbreak lasting such a long while. But maybe unfamiliar peace is still peace. Nothing feels heavy lately, and maybe that's enough for now. I no longer need emotional chaos to emotionally feel alive. Somehow nothing feels heavy lately, and maybe recovery looks like this: emotionally surviving heartbreak until emotional softness quietly exists. And I think emotional softness finally lives inside me tonight. If this feels familiar, please notice you're healing too. Sometimes emotional progress appears inside ordinary moments, carrying you through. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter than before tonight. Nothing feels heavy lately, and honestly, I never thought I would say that again. We finally let go, and honestly I felt it quietly. Not through one dramatic goodbye, but through emotional distance fading naturally. We finally let go after emotionally holding on too long, trying to emotionally save something that had already emotionally moved on. There was a time I feared this moment, Thought letting go would emotionally destroy me, but heartbreak already changed us slowly, long before we emotionally accepted reality. And honestly, acceptance arrived softly, not painfully like I imagined before. Just two tired hearts realizing we could not emotionally force this anymore. And maybe that realization saved us both. We finally let go. That's what changed everything tonight. Not because emotional love disappeared, but because emotional fighting finally lost its fight. We finally let go, and now I know some relationships emotionally end long before people emotionally go, and ours quietly ended that way too. I still care in certain ways, still emotionally wish you peace, but emotional attachment feels different now. Less emotionally desperate, less emotionally deep. The memories no longer emotionally control me. They simply exist inside my mind, like old photographs emotionally fading, with softness left behind. And honestly, softness feels better than pain now. We finally let go, and maybe healing starts there, when two people emotionally stop trying to carry something no longer there. We finally let go, and maybe that's okay too. Some heartbreak emotionally teaches peace before emotionally teaching truth to you. And I think we finally learned that truth tonight. If this feels familiar, please trust emotional acceptance. Not every ending needs emotional hatred. Sometimes people simply grow in different directions. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally calm enough to move forward tonight. We finally let go, and honestly that peace feels beautiful somehow. Peace looks different now than it did before you. It's not emotional perfection anymore, just emotional calm I can finally hold on to. Peace looks different now after emotionally surviving pain. I no longer search for constant happiness, just quiet moments that emotionally feel safe again. I used to think healing meant never hurting anymore, but honestly, emotional recovery feels softer and more complicated than before. Some nights still feel lonely, some memories still return, but they no longer emotionally consume me the way they once emotionally burned. And honestly, that feels like enough tonight. Peace looks different now, that's what I finally understand. Healing does not emotionally erase the past, it simply teaches your heart how to emotionally stand again. Peace looks different now, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly without fully letting go. And maybe that's completely human too. I stopped emotionally chasing closure, stopped emotionally needing explanations. because emotional peace sometimes grows inside emotional acceptance instead of conversations. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally comforting somehow. And honestly, I never imagined I would emotionally say that out loud, but I think I finally mean it tonight. Peace looks different now, and maybe growth looks this way too. Not emotionally becoming who you were, but emotionally becoming someone new. Peace looks different now, and maybe that's okay. Some heartbreak emotionally changes people before emotionally guiding them another way. And maybe I'm finally finding that way tonight. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Emotional peace does not need to look perfect to emotionally deserve a place inside your life. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally softer tonight somehow. Peace looks different now, and honestly, I think that change saved me. You feel farther lately, even inside my memories now. Your voice sounds quieter in my mind than I ever imagined somehow. You feel farther lately, and honestly that hurts differently. Not sharp like heartbreak used to feel, just emotionally distant quietly. There was a time your name could emotionally ruin my whole night. Now the sadness arrives softer like fading city lights. I still remember loving you deeply, still remember the way we were. But emotional attachment changes slowly when enough time quietly occurs. And honestly, I think time changed me too. You feel farther lately, that's how I know healing exists. Not because I emotionally forgot you, but because emotional pain no longer completely persists. You feel farther lately, and now I know some memories emotionally fade without fully letting go. And maybe that's part of recovery too. I stopped emotionally searching for signs, stopped emotionally revisiting old pain, because emotionally surviving heartbreak eventually teaches your heart what it cannot emotionally sustain. Now rainy nights feel calmer, less emotionally overwhelming somehow. And honestly, peace arrives so quietly, I almost didn't emotionally notice it until now. But I think I finally notice it tonight. You feel farther lately, and maybe distance heals this way. Not through emotional forgetting, but through emotional softness, replacing pain. Someday you feel farther lately, and maybe that's okay too. Some heartbreak emotionally weakens slowly before emotional releasing you. And I think my heart is finally releasing you tonight. If this feels familiar, please trust slow healing. Not every emotional recovery needs dramatic emotional endings. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally calmer than before tonight. You feel farther lately, and honestly, that sadness feels peaceful now, somehow. I'm learning calm again after emotionally surviving too much. My heart's been so long in chaos that peace almost felt unfamiliar to touch. I'm learning calm again, and honestly it feels strange sometimes. Not emotionally waiting for problems, not emotionally replaying old nights inside my mind. I forgot what emotional safety felt like during the hardest years. I became emotionally used to anxiety, emotionally used to carrying fear. Even happy moments felt temporary, because heartbreak trained my mind that way. But healing slowly teaches your heart, not every peaceful moment disappears someday. And honestly, I'm trying to believe that now. I'm learning calm again. That's what changed inside me lately. Not emotionally becoming perfect, just emotionally breathing more gently. I'm learning calm again, and now I know some emotional wounds recover slowly after emotional storms go. And mine finally started calming softly. I started enjoying quiet mornings, started emotionally sleeping through the night. The small peaceful moments no longer emotionally feel fragile inside. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally comforting somehow. And honestly, emotional softness feels more beautiful than emotional chaos now. But it took heartbreak to understand that deeply. I'm learning calm again, and maybe healing looks this way too. Emotionally rebuilding your nervous heart after emotionally surviving what broke you. I'm learning calm again, and maybe that's enough for now. I no longer emotionally need chaos to emotionally feel alive somehow. And honestly, the realization changed me. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Sometimes emotional recovery begins when your heart finally feels emotionally safe. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally softer tonight somehow. I'm learning calm again, and honestly, I think my heart needed this peace for a long time. The hurt feels smaller lately, not completely gone, but softer than the heavy sadness I carried emotionally for so long. The hurt feels smaller lately, and honestly that surprised me. I thought heartbreak would always live as loudly as it once lived inside me. There was a time every memory could emotionally ruin my whole day. Now the sadness arrives quietly, then slowly fades away. I still miss certain versions of us, still remember old nights sometimes, but emotional pain no longer controls every corner of my mind. And honestly, that feels peaceful somehow. The hurt feels smaller lately, that's how I know healing exists. Not because emotional scars disappeared, but because emotional survival slowly persists. The hurt feels smaller lately, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as life emotionally moves slow. And mine quietly started healing too. I stopped emotionally fearing silence, stopped emotionally chasing the past, because heartbreak eventually teaches your heart what emotional pain cannot permanently last. Now rainy evenings feel calmer, less emotionally overwhelming somehow. And honestly, emotional peace feels more believable now. But I never thought I would emotionally say that before. The hurt feels smaller lately, and maybe growth feels this way too. Not emotionally forgetting someone, but emotionally surviving without needing to. The hurt feels smaller lately, and maybe that's enough for now. Healing does not need perfection to emotionally change your life somehow. And honestly, I think my life is changing slowly. If this feels familiar, please notice you're healing too. Sometimes emotional recovery appears so quietly you almost miss it moving through you. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter tonight somehow. The hurt feels smaller lately, and honestly I think my heart finally believes healing is real. Maybe this is healing. Maybe it was never supposed to feel dramatic. Maybe emotional recovery arrives quietly inside ordinary moments instead of magic. Maybe this is healing, learning how to breathe again, learning peaceful nights still exist after emotionally surviving pain. I used to think recovery would feel obvious somehow, like suddenly becoming a different person without emotional weight inside me now. But honestly, healing felt softer, like emotional storms slowly disappearing, like my heart finally growing tired of emotionally carrying fear for years and years. And honestly, heart needed that rest. Maybe this is healing, that's what I realized tonight. Not because life became perfect, but because emotional pain no longer controls my life. Maybe this is healing, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional softness grows, and mine finally started growing too. I stopped emotionally chasing closure, stopped emotionally reliving every mistake, because emotional peace slowly appears when your heart emotionally accepts what it cannot change. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally comforting somehow, and honestly emotional calm feels more beautiful than emotional chaos now. But heartbreak taught me that slowly. Maybe this is healing, maybe growth feels this way too. Not emotionally erasing the past, but emotionally learning how to move through. Maybe this is healing, and maybe that's enough for now. I no longer emotionally fear silence the way I once emotionally did somehow. And honestly, that feels like freedom tonight. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Not every emotional recovery needs dramatic transformation to deserve space. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally softer tonight somehow. Maybe this is healing. And honestly, I think my heart finally believes it.